to do this as a follow-up to our spring networking event, which we had in Huddersfield back on the 24th of March. So I think some of you will have been at that event, some of you won't have been, but please don't worry. Although this is in some ways a follow-up, it doesn't matter if you were there or weren't there, but we were delighted to see that there was so much interest and so much engagement from everyone about pre-entry ESOL, and also so much interest in the very practical ideas sharing and resource sharing. So it's lovely to have you all here. So I think I've already said, if you can put yourself on mute while you're not speaking, you're very welcome to put your video off if you're more comfortable with that. We will be recording this meeting. If you've got any questions or comments, just pop them in the chat. That would be great. And we will be using social media with the hashtag Lunchtime ESOL. So feel free to share things on that. If we could just go through to the next slide. So here's the agenda for today. We have got a few presentations coming up, so thank you to our speakers for coming along. We'll be going through those presentations. So if you do have questions through the presentations, do just note them down, either in the chat or just for yourself, and we can then raise those questions in the section at the end for questions. Okay, so lovely to have so many of you here. Again, welcome to those who have just joined, and we're really delighted to be looking at pre-entry ESOL today. I am going to pass over now to Safina, who's going to do a mesh update.
Thank you, Emma. Welcome everybody. John, have you got the link, or do you want me to share my screen?
Sorry, you want to come out of slides and go?
I'm gonna, yeah, because I'm gonna show. So
Okay.
just to, yes, so we've got a few updates. We've been working on things in the background, chipping away the team. So we've got a new site refresh. So we're going to be giving the LEYH website a new look. So I'm going to give a sneak peek to everybody today. So let me just get it up. Let's have a look. The idea was just to give it an update. We felt it needed a refresh. So we are going to have the main sort of feature is the search, which is the postcode. It looks very different to the old one. We've just introduced, I'm just going to go through sort of the page. So you will still have the original search feature where learners, service users can enter the postcode and find their ESOL provision. We've got a really nice feature here with all our partners and providers that we're working with. So they'll scroll across here. We're going to sort of promote them really. It's like a promotional feature. And then we've sort of got little sections. Finding your English class, the widening learning opportunities will look like this. Information around the resources, so IIRLs. So we've just tried to keep it clean and fresh. What we're hoping to do is, just going to scroll down as I'm talking. We're hoping to have a focus group so that we want providers, practitioners and learners to use our new website. And sort of in mid-June, we'll have a focus group as well. So probably 2 weeks before, if anybody's interested in wanting to sort of help us sort of evaluate and provide feedback on the new site fresh, just pop your name in the chat if you're interested. We will send you once we're still working on it because we've got development features that we need to sort of fine tune. But once we've got there, we will send that out. And we just want people to explore it, look around, just check the user interaction, if it's straightforward, if it's complicated, what you're not sure about, and then we'll bring people together as a focus group sort of mid-June, where we can discuss sort of how to improve it further really, because ultimately the resource is for the region and it's for the people. So if we can get feedback from everybody, that would be really great. So if you are interested in partaking, just pop your name in the chat, and then the development workers from the area will reach out to you. And then, yeah, just any resources that you have, like Emma has said, across the hour, just share them in chat. Have I missed anything, John?
I think we should say, Safina, that So we're able to show just a mock-up of LEYH,
Yeah.
Learning English Yorkshire and Humber this morning. We're also revising and refreshing the Learning English Plus website as well, which we just the reason we can't show it is that we don't have that kind of dynamic view of it as yet. It should be coming soon. So we really need feedback on that too.
As well.
So if
but the
you
theme
are
will be
interested,
similar. It will look, it's going to look similar to what you've just seen now, very clean, very fresh, white background. But I think we just want feedback on sort of the navigation and the structure and the content, if you're happy with, if it's quite easy to use. So we want to make it sort of navigation user friendly, really. I think that's the aim of it. Yeah. So I think I'm going to pass back to John.
To me.
Oh, Emma, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Safina. Great. And John, if you could just pop the Migration Yorkshire slide up there, that would be lovely. So just a very brief introduction from me. Many of you I know, but I think there's some new faces out there. My name's Emma Taylor, and I work for Migration Yorkshire, which is the Strategic Migration Partnership, or SMP, for Yorkshire and the Humber. So I work with the 15 different local authorities in Yorkshire and Humber, and work very closely with Mesh as well. You will get these slides through to you, and I've just popped down a few links there for our website, which is very useful to use if you are needing to get some statistics or some information, if you're looking at putting on some new ESOL classes, if you're writing bids, if you're writing rationales for classes, you can have a look at our data and statistics. And drill down into the number of people in your area, which can be really useful. And we've also got a couple of really lovely toolkits on there. So do have a look at those, our ESOL for Refugees toolkit, and also the needs analysis and placement for refugee learners. Okay. We're very lucky to have 3 different presentations this lunchtime. I'm going to start by introducing you to Judy Kirsch, who is going to go first. We're really happy to have Judy join us. Judy's an experienced ESOL teacher and trainer. Her website is there on that first slide, so please do take a look. And Judy, if I can pass over to you for your presentation now.
Am I unmuted? Yes. Yeah. Hello and welcome. Yes, first of all, I'd just like to say how impressed I am by what you're doing in Yorkshire and Humber. It's incredible. I just wish that what you're doing was replicated around the country. You know, I've done a lot of training all over the country, in Scotland and Ireland and Wales as well. And what you're doing is brilliant. I just wish, as I say, everybody could have a resource like this. Okay, have you got my slide? Or shall I show the slide, or somebody else doing the slides? I can't. It's not.
I'm doing the slides, Judy. So if you tell me when you need to push one on.
Is the first slide visible? Because I
is
can't
indeed.
see it.
Can you not see it?
No, I can't.
Oh. Can everyone else see it?
I can see it on the side.
Yeah, we can see it.
On the side. Yeah, on your screen. Okay, is that how it works? Okay, so yeah, as John has said, and I've worked in the field of ESOL teaching, ESOL teacher training for many years, and I've delivered training in teaching ESOL basic literacy. That was before the term pre-entry was invented. And I've worked on developing resources nationally, which are now on the ETF website, the new to ESOL resources, and many other courses and resources. And now I've created a website called tsoltraining.com. You can see the link on that slide. And I've developed an online self-access course for people, whether they're teachers or volunteers, who are completely new to teaching literacy. And as you're all aware, with pre-entry level, ESOL literacy is a very broad term, and it encompasses all kinds of learners who range from those who arrive here in the UK with no English, no knowledge of the language, no literacy, no previous education in their own country, to people who have lived here for maybe 20 or 30 years and have picked it up quite informally and can speak English reasonably well, can communicate well, but actually can't read or write. They've never learnt to read or write. Do you want to go on to I can't see the slides, I can just see a small version of it. Yes, now one of the courses that I've run in the past, I've run many different kinds of literacy, ESOL literacy courses for teachers or volunteers. It ranges from, I've done sort of 90-minute intro sessions to 5-day full courses, so online or in person. And the course we put together for Rotherham was based around that. It was a 3-day course, 2 days in person and 1 day online. So I've done training all over the country. And it's nice doing in person because obviously you can interact more with people, but it's not always possible. And you can see, I don't know if you can see on the slide, the topics that are covered, ranging from who are the learners, how to teach reading, what's involved in reading. We look a bit more of the theory of what goes on in the brain, how people acquire reading and writing skills, because after all, reading and writing are not natural. We all acquire speaking and listening. Whatever country you live in, wherever you are, if you hear people speaking, the brain is designed to learn to speak. But reading and writing are not naturally acquired. You have to be taught. And if you think back to when you were at school, you spent years actually learning to read and to write and practicing it. So for second language speakers, or maybe may have other languages, to actually come in as an adult or an older teenager to learning to read or write is quite challenging. And it does require specialist training. Otherwise, you're thinking, well, I start with the alphabet, teach them the alphabet. But, we look at all these things in the course, and also things like dyslexia and managing mixed levels and different things. Do you want to go on to the next slide? Yeah, so this is where I was talking about reading. And today it's even more complex. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we were talking about, how to read notices, how to read email. Sorry, not the emails, it didn't exist. We were talking about just texts. Letters, we were talking about writing letters, reading letters, writing notes. Of course, now it's all very different. We have so many different kinds of literacy, and the learners have to be able to do all the online stuff, online forms. Everything is online now, filling in forms online. How do you help them with that? All the sort of huge amount of information, social media, all the different websites. There's just so much. And there's visual literacy as well, cartoons, we have imagery everywhere, infographics. So there's a huge amount of literacy, which is challenging even in your first language to cope with it. And many people struggle even in their own language, with reading and writing. It's been, research has established that, the reading levels of the population, etc. So it's very challenging. So focusing on teaching reading, how to teach reading, what are the best methods, the best strategies, those are the things we look at on the course. Want to go to the next slide, please? Yeah, and one of the key approaches that we recommend with adult learners is the language experience approach. And this involves getting the learners to speak and talk about something, and then you write down what they say, and then you're using their words as the basis for the text for them to work on. And because it's their words, their language, they know the vocabulary, and so that's, it's not so much of an issue. And then you can focus on sentence structure, the way we put the words together to make sentences, the grammar of sentences, the cohesion, how you organize the writing. And build from there. And this is a really, really good starting point with learners, even if you start with just 3 words, like my name is, or I come from. You can start very, very much at that level with complete beginners. With higher levels, you can have several sentences, but by using their own words, you're looking at their own words and looking at the phonics within those words, because phonics is a key part of teaching reading. But it's not the only part. So we look at an approach which is called a whole part whole approach. So we start at text level, but then break it down, looking at words, looking at phonics, looking at the punctuation, etc. And build on it from there. So language experience approach is the one that I would recommend using even with complete beginners, as long as they can say a few words. What's the next slide? I can't see it. Unfortunately, I can't see it because it's not on. Which one was that? Oh, it was the phonics. Yeah, we're looking at phonics and what phonics is. So we look at, as I said, we look at phonics on the course and explore how you can use it, how you integrate it into teaching, or how, if you want to teach it as a sort of in a systematic way, as they do in school, you know, how you would go about doing that. But you know, we explore that in terms of reading and writing, because it's relevant to writing and spelling as well. On the next slide. Oh, these are the key. I'm going to have to get my slides up because I can't read that. Yeah, so these were the key points about phonics, about linking phonic work to spoken language. You cannot teach reading or writing or phonics until your learners can speak, and speaking comes first. And some of the learners, if you're going to work on phonics, will need to work on phonemic awareness first. So discriminating sounds, hearing the sounds. And as I said, we focus on integrating it with whole word recognition and language experience, and keeping a note as you're teaching, you know, which phonic elements you've looked at, and giving learners opportunities for independent learning. You know, phonics will work with some learners, it can work extremely well. With other learners, it doesn't work. You know, it's very mixed. Some teachers have had great success with phonics, others have spent years trying and it just hasn't worked. So it will depend on your learner as well. And the next slide. Yes, an example of using picture stories. So this is again a really good way of building literacy, starting with oral work. As I said, oral work is really important. You've got to have the oral underpinning knowledge before you can teach reading and writing. So using pictures, using images, using picture stories, and now you can very easily create your own picture stories, you know, using AI, using ChatGPT or Bing or Gemini, Google Gemini. So it's very, very easy to create really personalized and contextualized stories for your learners, and then use them, talk about them, and then start to read and write about those stories, about the pictures. So that's a really good way, very quick and very easy way of creating reading and writing material. Yeah, but definitely you've got to link it to spoken work. And the next one, the next slide. Next slide. Yes, this is about reading. So again, writing, getting learners around. Now, many people struggle with writing. So you may have learners who can read, you know, decode and read, you know, sort of reasonable level. But when it comes to writing, they just completely get stuck and they don't know how to spell things and to write things, don't know where to start. If they've never been to school, they're going to really struggle with knowing how to write. It's a whole, you know, it's the whole cultural aspect of writing and the way we write in English in the West. So these are different methods we look at on the course, using structured questions, models, writing frames, group writing, which is like a group language experience type text. So again, it's giving a lot of support, a lot of scaffolding, and then, you know, gradually building their confidence in terms of writing. The next one, please, John. Yes, as I mentioned just before, using pictures is a hugely important way of encouraging learners to speak and then to write. So lots of different ways you can use images and pictures. And the next slide, I don't want to run on too long. So this one about differentiation. So we look at differentiation, and the key term now is adaptive teaching rather than differentiation. So how you can cope with those mixed levels in your class, in your groups. And of course, you can use AI now to create differentiated texts very easily and activities around texts. So these are all some ideas about, differentiating, using questioning, scaffolding, groupings. You could have the same task but different activities, etc. So those are all points. And the next one is about my course, and the last slide is about the introductory course that I've put together. And this is the first course that this is the first one. Planning on 4 short. They're short self-access courses. So I'm planning to create 4. This is the first one, which is introduction. So as I say, this is really designed for people that don't know anything. Perhaps you've come from an EFL background, or you've only taught higher level learners and you've been asked to teach at pre-entry, or you've got learners who have literacy difficulties and you're not sure where to start or what to do. So this short course covers these points on the screen, and there's the link. So do have a look. And there's feedback testimonial from somebody who did the course a couple of months ago. So I think that wraps it up. I don't want to go over time. I know I was asked to just give a short presentation about
Thank you, Judy.
what I do and the course. So I hope that. So if you have any queries, yes, just email me. I'm very, very happy to answer any of your email, any questions.
Thank you so much, Judy. And indeed, if you do have queries, and I've got several actually, then I hope we'll be able to get to them when we get to the questions and discussion period after we've heard from Chloe and from Claire. Sorry there was that technical difficulty, Judy, and well done for overcoming that so valiantly. Claire, I hope you're okay in terms of your technical issues, and I'll move on then to Claire. Hold your questions for Judy till the later session, and I am going to introduce my friend and colleague Claire Jackson, who is the founder of Sunflower ESOL in Leeds, but she also works for Mesh, and has for many, many years. So I'm delighted to introduce Claire, who's going to talk a little bit about some of the techniques that she started talking about actually in the regional networking meeting that Emma referred to earlier, which was in March. And it was a very popular little session, a small group session that Claire ran. So Claire, over to you to tell us more about literally embedded learning.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Great. Lovely. Okay, yes. So as John says, I work for Mesh, and I also have developed Sunflower ESOL, which is it's a charity that provides ESOL for people who have trouble accessing classes through college. That was the original idea. And I've been teaching ESOL even longer than I've been working for Mesh, so that's quite a while. And I'm just going to spend the next few minutes telling you about the ESOL class, the group that I ran. This last winter was the 3rd winter that I've run this group. John, can I have the next slide, please? If you can imagine, rather than us all sitting on our computer screens, sitting at a table with my bright sunflower tablecloth, and we're surrounded by plants and bags of compost and lovely things like that. So the group, as I say, it's the 3rd winter that I've run the sessions, and it's at a night shelter for destitute asylum seekers. That the shelter is open from October through to the end of April, and I run the sessions on a Wednesday evening from 5 o'clock when the shelter opens to 7, from November through to March. This winter, not every winter, but this winter, there was a high turnover of people, lots of people coming into the shelter and then moving on quickly. And I did have 3 regular attenders as well. So that's sort of a little bit of understanding of who was coming to the group. And also within that group, very mixed ability. Some people completely fluent with their speaking and their reading and writing, and just came along because it was something to do. They were interested in growing plants. Other people really just learning to read and write. And again, others not even any spoken English. So a real mixture of people coming to the group. The next slide, John, please. So every week I had a little structure of things that I would sort of draw on. It was a 2-hour session every week. So we'd usually always start off with a practical activity. And one of the reasons I've developed the gardening sessions, I did these over the winter, but I also do gardening groups through the summer as well, where we're working outside. And I do find having this practical activity is a lovely way to then have something familiar to talk about, to kind of hang the language on. So that just works really nicely. So practical activities, I'll talk about the sorts of things that we did in a minute, but we'd have a practical activity, and then we would do some word or sentence work around those activities. I've invested in I don't know if you've seen them in Home Bargains or places like that. You can buy these individual sized whiteboards. And so lots of practice of forming words, what letters can you hear, this sort of thing. And then every person has a diary as well. And the idea of the diary is that every week they write the date and they write a couple of sentences about what we have done during the session. And some people would just do that independently. For other people, we would be talking about what we'd done and then forming those sentences, and that might take us most of the session to get that writing done. Most weeks we would play bingo, and the photograph attached here is in the middle of a bingo game. You can see that week we've obviously been planting some bulbs. So this must have been before Christmas, I think. And then the bingo that I've got for the night shelter group is lots of pictures of parts of a plant and different types of trees, different types of flowers, sort of words like branch, stem, root. And again, it's a lovely thing to do with the learners, that some of them just need to hear the word, some of them need the picture as well, and then carefully looking to see if they've got those the correct thing. It's just a really nice way to engage them with language. And then of course every week speaking and listening just happening naturally around the activities that we're doing. Next slide, John, please. So the practical activities that we did, I've already mentioned that we would plant bulbs. Some weeks we sowed seeds, and last week at my daytime gardening group, which takes place in Hare Hills in Leeds, we actually planted the tomato seedlings that were sown at the night shelter. And although the people who are actually doing the things don't see the continuity, I can see that it just feels really nice that something that we've started in one group actually carries over to another group. We've also sown sweet peas that are going to be going to a garden in Armley, where I work on a Wednesday afternoon. So quite a lot of seed sowing at the night shelter. And then, of course, once the seeds have been sown, we've got the task of potting on the seedlings when they get big enough to handle. So lots of language and activity around the equipment that we're using. What's the difference between compost and soil? Maybe that's not a pre-entry activity, but I don't know if you find this with your own teaching. It's never like in clear little divided neat sections, is it? There's always a crossover. You know, people even in a group that is full of pre-entry students, everyone will have slightly different levels of ability and be coming from a different place. So I think that's just a natural part of teaching English to people. One of the things I really enjoy doing at the night shelter is showing the people who come how to propagate house plants. So this little picture on the right hand side here, this is a Chinese money plant, and they are such clever little plants. The main plant just puts out these little babies that grow up in the soil around the parent plant, and this pot is actually 2 of the little babies that we've taken out of the parent plant and put into the pot, and they're really resilient. They grow really well. So so repotting and repotting houseplants, but also propagating new houseplants, taking cuttings and yeah, as I've said, repotting the babies there. Next slide, John, please. So this is now I really wondered about whether to show you this or not. This is an actual activity that I did, and I'm sure you're looking at it and thinking, why on earth would you do an activity with a plant that's got such a long, complicated name? This is a Tradescantia, which is the name of the plant. And I just thought, our learners are living their lives in life. You know, they don't live their lives in places where all the vocabulary and everything is simple and easy to, you know, approach. This is a beautiful plant. It's easy to propagate, and it was what we were working with. So that is the word that we were using. So this is the text that we read together as a whole group. Next slide, John, please. And then we had these activities where they had to count the sentences, count the capital letters, full stops, and how many letters are in the word, and then some true false questions there as well. And then next slide, John, please. So this is the, oh yeah, just 2 slides left. So this is a little quiz, and just talking about, I've just learned a new word from Judy, the adaptive teaching approach here. Some people would be given these pictures and would have the slide as you can see it there with the first letter of each word. Some people would have no letters at all, and they'd just have to see if they knew what the different things were. And then other people would have this slide and a word list as well, where they could look on the word list and find Chinese money plant, gardening gloves, compost or soil. So that was the way that I adapted that activity for different levels. And then last slide, John, please. The other thing that I did fairly regularly was word searches, where the language that we'd use, they'd be finding in a word search. So that's just a little overview of the activities that I've been doing at the gardening group. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Claire. Fantastic. Lots of ideas there, which people may want to return to. Safina, I think I'm handing over to you now to introduce our final speaker.
Yeah, thank you, John. So I will just put the slide up. I'm going to introduce Chloe from Heart of Yorkshire. She's the ESOL Curriculum Development Manager. Chloe, are you there?
I am.
There you go. So over to you, lovely.
Hi. So I was very nicely asked to speak at the Spring Mesh event, where we talked about pre-entry in a college and FE setting. Whilst there, I met ESOL teachers from all different colleges in Yorkshire, and it led to a discussion about maybe making some kind of group where we can meet and share share different things. So I facilitate this for pre-entry teachers. The reason why this is really important is because my pre-entry teachers, it's very isolating to be a pre-entry teacher in the context of ESOL, because it's normally the minority, it's 1 or 2 teachers working really hard to try and work something out that doesn't have the same kind of structure as a Skills for Life curriculum. So we sat down, spoke about it, and we did our first online meeting a couple of weeks ago, which went really, really well. We talked about sequencing, and yeah, I think everyone enjoyed it. It's always awkward the first time you do anything, but we've planned to do regular meetings over the next academic year. So this is going to be for pre-entry teachers in FE, and we'll be sharing good practice, sharing resources and advice, and it's very much linked to working within the rules of FE. So there's a lot of things that all the colleges have in common, but there's obviously different things that happen as well at different places. So yeah, I was asked to come today just to tell you a little bit about it. We have one every term already booked for next year. So if you are an FE pre-entry teacher and you'd like to join, please feel free to email me or Safina and we will add you to the group. We also have a OneDrive where we can share documents and things like that. So yeah, it's definitely bring your experience along and we'll share good practice. Yeah.
Thank you, Chloe. Just to add on to that as well, me and Chloe have been discussing this, and I think we decided that we are going to stick to the colleges just for now. I think later on, once it's an established group and we've built some really good resources, we'll be looking at centralising those resources, because at the moment they sit under Heart of Yorkshire's OneDrive. But then we will introduce third sector to that, because we just felt at the moment we're just separating that for now, but I think later on, Chloe, we were gonna sort of bring them together, won't we? Sort of give it a good year, see where we go, and then invite third sector teachers.
Yeah, I do believe that we
yeah,
you can't, unfortunately, as a provider of education, you can't be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
And third sectors are so important. But I also think that within like our college here, we have my pre-entry teachers are very much, even though they have each other, there's not very many of them, there's not the time. This gives a purposeful space to talk about topics that relate to this. So on the screen now is obviously where we all met at the Mesh Spring event. We had our initial meeting on the 22nd of April, and we talked about sequencing and our schemes of learning, which are a requirement in FE. And there was a lot of crossover, but also there was very different approaches, which is interesting, just as a reflective practice of like what other people are doing and why they're doing it. We have then also booked in the next 3 for the next academic year. So we're doing it termly because we work in terms in FE, and they have specific focuses. So strategies and resources specifically for pre-entry, initial assessments and starting points, and summative assessments and evidence gathering. These are all really important things in an FE environment, because that's how we pull down funding. That's how we know where people are in the right courses. So yeah, this is very much like a work in progress. Even though I'm facilitating it, I do not take ownership of it. It's owned by the people that are in it. They're the ones that make it work. So yeah, I'm just here to recruit more ESOL teachers.
Yeah, thanks, Chloe. Yeah, so just watch this space and let's see where it goes. It'll be organic, and yeah, let's see where we go with it. Yeah, thank you for your time, Chloe.
Thank you.
I think over to you, John.
Can I ask us just a very specific question, Chloe? Sorry to butt in with this, but can I ask, do you recruit specifically for pre-entry, or is pre-entry something that you ask your existing tutors to deliver alongside, you know, entry 1, entry 2, and so on?
Well, I think this has been probably the most common way, has been that ESOL teachers are recruited as ESOL teachers, and then everyone gets moved around and timetables are timetabling, and all of a sudden people are moving from different levels up and down, and ESOL teachers can do anything. All ESOL teachers are amazing. But I think that historically it would be that you would hire an ESOL teacher and then maybe you'd pick up a pre-entry class. I've adjusted that at the Heart of Yorkshire this year. So I have an excellent ESOL teacher called Lucy Palmer, and she taught Entry 1 for her entire life and moved down to Pre-Entry, and it took a very different approach to Pre-Entry, which has really pushed the Pre-Entry at the Heart of Yorkshire forward in implementing phonics as a standalone subject. So from Lucy's work, we've adjusted at the Heart of Yorkshire. I've just recruited, and it's on your website, a Pre-Entry teacher, so someone specifically that wants to work in Pre-Entry in the college. So they wouldn't be teaching higher levels, they would only be teaching Pre-Entry classes. I think it's a completely different skill. I also think that it's harder to teach lower levels than higher levels. And then there is also not the support of the Skills for Life curriculum or, you know, consistency across different sectors. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, that's such an interesting development to see the new post being advertised. Also, I love the idea of Lucy teaching Entry 1 for her entire life.
Level 1,
I think she's here
level
today.
1. Yeah, she's definitely.
I could just see her as a 10-year-old.
She supervises me, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone, to just butt in with that question. I just had to ask it, but we are going to go on now. Thanks so much, Chloe.
You.
And we're going to go on for questions to everyone and sharing our own ideas and experiences and resources around delivering Pre-Entry for the remainder of the session. So in order for that to be more convivial, I'm going to stop sharing actually so that we can all just be a group together. I hope that's okay. And Judy's just coming back in, which is lucky because we need her. Thanks to Judy, to Claire and to Chloe. And I am open to questions or comments or ideas from anybody, really. Claire, do we have anything in the chat that we need to pick up so far? You're on mute, Claire, so I can't. Yeah.
I'd given you so much information, John. So sorry. No, there are no questions just yet. Okay. People were just asking Chloe, talking about what Chloe was saying. So no, there's nothing yet.
Okay. Any questions or comments from anybody amongst us?
Just to say that it's absolutely brilliant to see. This is Naima Han from Natekla and now in Leeds.
Naima.
Hi, everyone.
Go ahead.
Oh, she's just frozen.
She's just frozen. The critical moment.
Great initiatives, and it's absolutely brilliant to hear of the. Yes, my internet is never great here for the last few weeks. So yes, I'm really, really pleased to see the Pre-Entry network starting up. And somebody from Natekla will be in touch if that's okay, Chloe.
Yes, it is.
Yes, of course. Yeah, of course.
Fantastic initiative as well, and really, you know, so interesting to see Pre-Entry being embraced in the FE sector, where we might not necessarily have seen it traditionally. I would like to ask a question of Judy if she's here, if there aren't any other questions at the moment. I can just see that Andrea's asking a question. Let's ask, and let's see.
Do you want me to read it out, John?
Yeah. Oh no, I'm going to ask Judy a question before we get to this. There's another one for Chloe. So yeah, Judy, I was just interested in your emphasis on AI, you know, which I think is really interesting to see. And there were two areas in particular that you commented on. First of all was about creating picture stories using AI, and secondly around differentiated texts being produced through AI. I just wondered if you could give us a little bit more, you know, information about your approaches. Because often, you know, when I use ChatGPT, I often find myself asking a question which I think is totally clear and getting a kind of radically different answer to the kind that I was expecting. So if you could just, you know, just elaborate a little bit, that'd be great.
Well, I think recently ChatGPT has come up with this sort of new, much more realistic type of image, you know, photo quality images. And what I do is in the prompt box is type the text that you want. So you say, you know, please create. I mean, I've got them. If I go, I can, you know, look in my files. I can bring it up and show you what I've done. And basically, you describe what you want in the pictures. You know, create a series of 6 pictures. It's about, yeah, and you describe exactly what you want. I did one for shopping, for example. Fatima goes shopping, and I did another one. Ahmed goes to the dentist. And you write the text, or you write the story, and then you press the button, and within 2 minutes, it creates the most fantastic series of pictures in colour. And actually in Gemini you create a storybook, so you can make the books and the topics, and it creates it really quickly. So for beginner learners, you know, I'd say you could create it for your learners to practice reading, and for the slightly higher level learners who they need to develop their digital skills as well, they could actually create these stories, picture stories themselves, putting in the prompts, and they would learn, you know, how to do the prompts. Yeah, I can go, if you give me a couple of minutes, I can find it in my files and show you what I've done in that. I can come back in a minute and show you. And with the same with the differentiated text, you upload the text. You have a text, for example, which is too difficult for your learners. You want a simplified version. So you can ask ChatGPT to create a text for a beginner learner of English, or you can say A1, which is slightly higher. Obviously, that's more entry one. But you can say what you want, and then it will come up with a text, and then it will say, "Is this what you want?" And if it isn't, you can say, "No, make it simpler." And lower, and you can keep going till you get text at different levels for reading practice, for example, and you can make it around your town, your place, your college, you know, the environment that they know. So they're reading about familiar things.
Wow. That's
very clever.
What a brave new world it is, isn't it?
It
It's
is.
amazing,
I'll
isn't it?
go and find the slides if
Yeah,
you
that would be
like,
great.
and then
Yeah.
I'll come back.
Okay, thanks so much, Judy. Claire, do you want to tell us what's in the chat then?
Yes, so a question for Judy. Are there costs for your courses, Judy?
Sorry, what was the question about cost?
Yeah, are there costs for your courses?
Yeah, the course that I'm selling at the moment is £39, and it's about, I'd say it takes about 3 to 4 hours, but you do it your own time. It's a lifetime access, so you can come back to it anytime. You've got references, there's links to resources, links to further reading. There are activities to do with the course. You know, it's not just reading stuff. You know, you're asked to do things, try out things, reflect on things. There are quizzes. It's video based, so it's me talking through a lot of it. So it's more engaging. And at the end, you get a certificate, and you can come back anytime. Now, if an organisation wants to buy 2 or more courses, then I'm happy to talk about a discount, obviously. But yeah, for somebody who is completely new, the other courses I'm working on are looking specifically at teaching reading, and another one on writing, teaching writing, for beginners, because there's a lot of stuff out there, general terms in language teaching about teaching reading and writing, but not about beginner reading and writing, which is different. And then I'm going to do one on phonics, looking at phonics for ESOL, adult ESOL learners, because there's very, very little for adults learners on phonics.
Great, thank you, Judy. There's a question from Andrea. In terms of funding, so this is for Chloe. In terms of funding, are the pre-entry courses delivered on the tailored learning? If so, how long are the courses, and are they structured on topics?
Yeah, so the funding rules change from different combined authorities. So I'm under Wicker in West Yorkshire. We do use tailor funding here. Our pre-entry courses mirror our accredited courses, so they're over 18 weeks. What was the last part of that question?
Are they structured on topics?
Oh, well, so that depends. So we have like a 3 We have we have a single entry point, which is about the speaking, which aligns with what Judith was saying, was you have to be able to speak before you can learn how to read or write. So everyone comes in at the same point starting this academic year, and then depending on abilities, they'd either go to a purposeful phonics course or a reading blending course. But Lucy Palmer is definitely the person to ask about this, as she's developed this over the last couple of years. But we do, our first initial speaking course is topic based. Our phonics is taught independently, so it's just phonics, and then the words come into that. It's a whole new world for phonics out there.
Yeah, there
specifically for adults. Yeah.
Didem is just asking. They say, I'm very intrigued to learn the new approach to phonics that proved to be very useful. I'm not quite sure who that is. That for you, Chloe? Did you talk about that?
The approach that we are using here has been really helpful, but I think that I think from what we found out from the working group is everyone's integrating phonics in different ways. I don't necessarily think there's one way to do something. I think it's about meeting the learners that you have in front of you, and the learners that we have here at the Heart of Yorkshire have very much changed to a lower level pre-entry without educational context. So I think that the working group is really helpful because there's a vast difference between like us and Leeds. We're not that very far away from each other, but the pre-entry is dealt with differently in that context, which I think that sharing is the best way forward.
Yeah, that's great, thank you. And Shokran says DeepSeek, Copilot and Goblin tools are all very good resources as well. I'm assuming that are they Shokran, are there AI tools?
They are. Goblin, sorry, my camera's not working, but Goblin tools is absolutely fantastic. I use it for all sorts of things. But also with regards to what John was saying earlier, it didn't matter what question he put in. Basically, what I found is the more detailed the question, the more you give the information. And if you've got any documents that you can also upload, which you can on DeepSeek, I'm assuming ChatGPT as well, the more relevant the answer will be. So I think I made a mistake of asking about something in the framework, and I put adult framework or something, and I should have put adult skills framework. And I missed the word, or I put skills framework, and it went off on one about health and well-being and all sorts of stuff. I was like, no, that's not what I want. So it can really lead you down a rabbit hole if you're not careful. So you have to make sure the more specific, as they say, garbage in, garbage out. So the same thing with these things. You have to make sure you put in the exact what you're looking for down to a T, and then it'll sort it out.
Right. Okay? Thank you, Shokran.
And by the way, Goblin tools is really good. Sorry, there's a part of it, if anybody's played on it, there's one called Goblin Chef. And Goblin Chef, you just tell it the ingredients and ask it to create a recipe for you. So you could use it with your learners, because it's quite fun. Apart from there's the professional bit and the other parts to it. But I found the chef really useful the other day. I just opened my fridge, put everything that I had in there and said, right, do me something, create me a recipe. And it did, and it was a really easy recipe to follow. So
great. Thank you, Shokran. Just quickly before we finish, there is a question from Zahida. How long are the phonic programs for pre-entry learners? Is it a similar length to the phonic curriculum in primary schools?
I'm assuming that's for me again. So we're definitely, it's because obviously within a primary school, it would be a full year. Lucy, are you there? Because she can explain this much quicker than me. Lucy?
Are you there, Lucy?
Hello.
There she is. Can you explain, please? I don't like taking credit from other people's work, and this is very much Lucy's work. So,
thank you. So the phonics courses, like Chloe said, are 18 weeks. But it's not that we're expecting anybody to learn to read and write within 18 weeks. So
because of how it's funded, with the students can do it again as long as they've got different learning outcomes. So it can be a case of, if they do the first 18 weeks and they're not ready to progress on to the next one, which is a little bit higher level, they might do that again, but
No, they don't,
but
because
just
Anna is marking.
concentrate on some other sounds and
yes.
build it up that way. It might be that they're ready to go on to the next level, and then they're making much quicker progress, especially if they've already got literacy in their own language. So it's not like 18 weeks and then you're done, you're ready, here's a sticker, you're ready to progress on to, you can read and write now. So we're just meeting the learners where they are at the moment and trying to meet their needs based on where they are at.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Lucy.
Thanks, Lucy. That's really informative. And you see, there's a lot of interest in the developments in the FE sector, and it's really interesting to hear as well about the intentions around embracing the third sector in the longer run. I know, Chloe, that you're already doing that in practice in your actual work around pre-entry. So it's really interesting, to try to bring the third sector in, especially around issues like phonics, which can sometimes be kind of resource heavy, and resources are always such a challenge for many people in the third sector. So interesting to see those developments. Okay, so we are nearly at 1:30, and I know Safina's already encouraged you to complete the evaluation form, but I wanted to say one thing just before, just in relation to what Claire presented today. So the reason I love hearing about the sessions that Claire runs is that I know that she's a keen gardener. Okay, and what this does, what the embedded learning at Sunflower does, is it combines her professional practice in ESOL with something that she's really loves doing and is really interested in. And I think it's such an effective and lovely way to approach professional practice in ESOL. And I know that there are lots of people who aren't interested in gardening but might be keen sewers or any other, or keen football players or whatever, and those combining those things with ESOL delivery in the way that Claire has demonstrated today, I think is a way not just to benefit the learners, but actually it's a really important thing to value from a practitioner's point of view, because it helps to kind of sustain and kind of enrich the approach that people have to the delivery of ESOL, and anything which does that, I think, is a good idea. So I'm going to very quickly share the last slide, if I can actually find it, which I can't, which is a bit of a blow, but I will try to overcome that blow rapidly. Oh yeah, here it is. No, I can't do it rapidly, but I will do it nevertheless. So bear with me 1 second, because I want to just put this up because it's got the QR code on it for the evaluation. Coming to you all right now. There.
Just yes. Click. That's it. It's there, John.
So this is just to encourage you to just follow the QR code and fill in the evaluation for the session. Especially, it's interesting to hear your feedback both on the structuring and the content of the session, but also your ideas for the kind of things that you want to see covered in Lunchtime Showcase sessions going forwards. We take a lot of inspiration from those ideas, so it's really important to us. So I hope you'll find 2-3 minutes to just do that for us. And lastly, I want to say a massive thank you to Judy and to Chloe and to Claire for sharing their thoughts and fascinating ideas about ESOL. We're really, really grateful to you. And it's lovely to see everyone Thanks a lot, and see you again soon for the next ESOL Lunchtime Showcase, which will be mid-June. Look out for it.